Hey, and thank you so much for having me. I'm Kirill. I'm previously developer myself, and I guess if you're a developer once, you never get over it. I do some part-time development now too, and today I'm gonna share some things about how we build the Paywall Builder, which is one of the core features at our product. And also in the second part, I'll cover about different monetization techniques that will allow you to increase the revenue of your application. And first, I just want to know who builds the mobile applications here, if you can raise your hand. Cool, yeah. And how many of you have mobile subscriptions, in-app subscriptions, like web subscriptions, as a way of monetize them? Some. Okay, so for those of you who don't have them, it's still going to be beneficial because it's more and more common approach to monetize them this way. And so a couple of words about Adapty. We help developers earn more money through in-app monetization, web monetization, A/B testing, and many other things. We provide SDKs that you can integrate into your app. They're 100% open source, Swift, Kotlin, and all the major cross-platforms SDK. You can use them without any subscription fees. We also do attribution, analytics, revenue prediction, and lots of insights that help you to understand the revenue behavior of your customers much better. And we have the tools that allow you to build different screens in your applications. And this way, for example, you can build the paywalls or onboarding screens, and this allows you to improve the conversion. Adapty is used by over 15,000 applications, and most of them are indie developers, but there are also bigger applications, so all scales of them use us. We track over 2 billion in mobile revenue per year, and we handle lots of requests, lots of transactions. So the data that we share is based on these transactions. So Adapty Paywall Builder, it is a no-code tool that allows you to design paywalls and other screens of your applications through the dashboard, and then push them into mobile applications without running any updates, so you don't have to go through the App Store review or Google Play review. Another important feature is that these are the native screens, so they are not HTML-based ones. So you get the 100% native experience. And another pretty important feature that we have is AI generation, so you can enter your App Store or Google Play URL into our platform, and we generate a set of paywalls for you that you can use as a starting point, and then you can later iterate on this specific version. And we have a huge collection of ready-to-go templates, but the best thing is that you can design 100% your own paywall. There are no limitations. And so Paywall Builder is and was pretty challenging product for us. We started it a little less than 3 years ago, and we put a lot of effort into that. The biggest challenge that we saw is the loading speed. So first we started with HTML, and it was probably the wrong approach because HTML loading time is not as good as the native. So as you can see on this chart, the difference between native approach and web view is roughly 5 times. So if you want to, and for the paywalls, it is crucially to be able to present them as soon as possible, because otherwise it will decrease the conversion. So going native was we started originally with HTML, but after doing initial tests with the customers, we saw the drops in conversion and then switched to the native approach. It's much more complicated to build the native solution, but if you build something for the long term, it's better to go native. And so we went with this. The second challenging point was how to load images, or especially videos, because they can they can be tens of megabytes, and on the mobile network especially, they would load for a long time. So first we introduced base 64 preview. So when we fetch the paywall from our server, we put smaller, like lower resolution images as base 64 into the JSON, and they can be presented right away. So there are no like glitches or drops when the paywall is presented. And then later on, once we can fetch the whole, let's say 5 megabyte image from the server, it just is seamlessly replaced on the paywall, so it creates much better experience. And also for the videos, instead of loading them directly, we use adaptive streaming, and so we only load like the first 3 seconds, and then after the customer opened the paywall, we preload the next seconds, and it also works seamlessly. And also, obviously, another important detail, the one that we actually missed like in our first release, is CDN and multi-level caching, because for the customers in the UK or in the United States where our servers are, the loading time was pretty good, but for the customers in South America or like Asia, it was pretty terrible. So we decided to go with CDN, but it created some interesting challenges. In Adapty, it is possible to present the paywall to specific audiences and like target what paywall is being shown to specific customers. So let's say we want to present paywall A to the customers from the United Kingdom, and we want to present another paywalls to the customers coming from the different countries. Some of them, for example, we know that they installed the application for our Instagram ads, and we want to present them paywall B, and all the other users should be shown paywall C. So normally, like when you use CDN, when you query a specific paywall, it would have like the exact URL, and if the customer from the United Kingdom accessed the paywall from the specific URL, it will get cached on the CDN, and then the next time someone uses the same like paywall URL, the same paywall will be returned. And if the customer is from the same audience, this is what we want. But if the customer is coming from another segment, they will get the same cached paywall, and it's a problem. So to solve it, it's not like something extremely major, but it's also a nice technique that you can use. So basically, we encapsulated all the parameters from that can affect the audience of the customer into one hash, and we embedded into the URL. So we know, like, we don't have to calculate the segments on the CDN because it's not possible, but every time someone accesses the unique URL, it first gets from our server, and then we know which segment should be presented, and then after that it cached. So this way we can use CDN, still allowing to present specific paywalls to the customers. So it's something that might be useful for you if you develop similar solutions. The second pretty big challenge was to develop cross-platform paywall rendering. Because we teached HTML, we had to design the system ourselves, and we wanted to design it the way that it will be very flexible. So we can use nesting, we can use automatic layouts, or we can use absolute layouts. So for that, we had to design our own data format. I mean, it's essentially the JSON, but the way the data where it's presented, it allows us to add new elements dynamically, even if they were not originally part of the system. We can just nest them, and it's like HTML, but based on the JSON format, which allows us to query it much faster. We also have to build unified components for Swift UI and Compose, because some elements behave differently on Android and iOS. It could be like lists work a little bit differently, so we have to create workarounds that allow, because like the customers expect the paywall or the other screens to be exactly the same on the different platform, we have to design over that. And then animations, localizations, themes, these are also things that you should take care of when you build in native implementations for the screens, because they would also work differently across the platforms if you just use native components. And finally, one thing that we improved, and also that could be beneficial for you if you develop something similar, is if you have to support cross-platform SDKs, it's better to use a shared core for them. So originally, we were using the approach that you can see on the left. So we had our main Swift and Kotlin SDKs, and then we developed plugins for them for React Native, for Flutter, for Unity, for Expo, and for other cross-platforms that we have. And to change something, we had to do it in many places. After that, we decided to separate the UI into the dedicated plugin, which is also written in Swift. And so everything is currently developed in Swift and Kotlin, and React Native or other cross-platform SDKs, they only behave as a wrappers, and this way it's much easier to develop them. So that's the implementation part. And finally, because paywalls are the crucial part of the mobile application and monetization, it is important that if something goes wrong, either with our servers or our infrastructure, they would work. And recently, there were major outages of AWS and Cloudflare. Adapty has not been down for this time because of the architecture that we used. And so the first one is we have fallback paywall. So basically, the paywall itself is a JSON that gets rendered on the device. And every time the customer changes something in the visual editor of our Paywall Builder, we save the fallback file to Amazon S3 and Cloudflare R2. And if something goes wrong with our servers or something goes wrong with S3, the request will be redirected to R2 or vice versa. So it allows us to fetch up-to-date paywalls from the blob storages, and it basically creates 100% availability for the paywalls. But if the customer, it works like that. If the request is coming and there is no hit on CDN, so nothing is cached on the CDN, but our server for some reason is not responding, we just redirect the query to either Cloudflare to S3 and get it from there. But there are cases when the customer, they don't have any internet connection at all, and so for that we also decided to put these JSONs, local fallbacks, into the app build itself, and this allows us to present the paywall even there is no internet connection, and that's another layer that allows us to always provide a seamless experience here. So that's how it works technically. I will share some analytical details after that, so let's move on. So as I mentioned earlier, we analyzed 215 million transactions to get understanding on how different pricing and different paywalls affect the revenue of mobile applications, and here are some results. So I will share just 3 easy tips how to increase the revenue, how to boost the LTV. The first one is pretty straightforward. So most of the time, if you increase the prices of your application, you will get a higher LTV. So sometimes we think that, maybe the customers would not be ready to pay that more for monthly or weekly or annual subscription. But no matter what's the subscription duration, we always see that the highest 25 percentile of the prices, they drive the higher LTV. So if you have ideas about increasing the prices for your application, most of the time you should do it because it will increase the LTV. Another important thing is personalization and localization. So pretty straightforward way is to present different paywalls based on the country. So you can show a specific paywall for the customers in the United Kingdom and another paywall for the customers in Turkey. This will allow you to adjust the pricing, the images, the story that you're selling on the paywall. So it's better to personalize it. And a bit harder way is most of the applications before the paywall, they have an onboarding. So those are the screens where you ask the customer why do they want to use the application, what's their goals, what's their previous experience, and normally during onboarding they would answer these questions. And so you can use this data to optimize what's being offered on the paywall from the product perspective to the features that you highlight. So it's really important to personalize them. And on average, we see that if you do personalize paywall and onboarding, it will lead to 23% in LTV increase, LTV over 6 months, which is a pretty huge number. Also, important question that many of the developers ask themselves is how to set the prices in the application, especially if you do it in multiple regions. And so for that, we have Adapty pricing index. We analyzed hundreds of thousands of different transactions, and we put them into one pretty big report that you can download using the QR code on this slide. So, for example, it was pretty unexpected for us that for example, subscription price in Turkey is almost 3.5 times cheaper than in the United States. And in Netherlands, for example, it's almost 1.5 times more than that. So it is this data is pretty difficult to find because most of the time you just operate with your own customers, and it's important, obviously, to know your customers and not just upload the default pricing for every application. But still, these conversion indexes that we have, because this data comes from millions of transactions, this will allow you to get your decisions based on the data. And then finally, it is very important to run A/B tests of the paywalls, of the onboardings, and in general, of every major step in your application, because in some countries, some specific narrative could work better. In some countries, it could work worse. And it's only about countries, but it's also about different niches, user niches of your application. So if you run experiments, you definitely have better chances to hit the right paywall or right onboarding or right app experience in general. And because we allow our customers to run A/B tests for our platform, we also analyze how experiments affect the revenue. And as you can see on this chart, the more experiments you run, the higher your chances to get much bigger revenue. And obviously, there is some causation here in terms of bigger companies. They have more resources to run A/B tests, but to get there, you still have to do something, and A/B testing is one of the easiest solutions to optimize your conversions. So to summarize, the most simple way to increase the revenue is basically increase the prices. Most of the times they are not high enough and you can charge more. Personalize and localize the paywalls because even if you don't have localization of the entire application, if you just localize onboarding and the paywall, and with the modern AI tools, it's very easy to do. So you can just use Cursor or just Claude Code or ChatGPT to upload your JSON with the strings, and it will localize it. Or you can use Adapty because we also localize the paywall. So if you do that, it will definitely increase the revenue. And finally, run experiments. This will allow you to get more insights on how you can further increase the revenue. you can do everything what I described in Adapty without having to do the heavy lifting yourself. You can build the paywalls, you can run experiments, you can localize them, you can present different paywalls based on the audience. And for all of you visiting the events today, you can get 50% discount on Adapty. Adapty is actually free for most users who earn less than $10,000 per month from their mobile subscriptions. There are some paid features that normally cost $99 per month, but with the offer code, you can get them for $49. Yeah, so we saw tons of cases, developers starting using Paywall Builder, starting experimenting, and then increasing the revenue. So with Adapty, without Adapty, just make sure to experiment, just make sure to localize the prices. This will be helpful for you. Thanks a lot, and happy to answer your questions. Yep.
Got one kind of more about paywalls in general.
Yeah.
But also, I guess, how you guys possibly deal with this. But you said increase the prices.
Yeah.
So say if I signed up for a subscription for an app, and then I don't go on the app for like 4 months, but I'm still paying the subscription.
Yeah.
Which happens quite a lot. And the company decides they want to raise the prices. Will that automatically increase what that kind of ghost user is paying?
Yeah, good question. So normally, for example, in the App Store and Google Play, if you raise the price up to 10% and no less than, I think, every 6 months, they won't have to, like the customers won't have to consent to the price increases. If you do more than that, they would have to consent to that, and this will normally not a good thing. But when I say increase prices, most of the time I'm not talking about increasing the prices for the existing subscribers. You can just create a new product and put it on the paywall. And so for all the new users coming to the application, they will see the new pricing. The existing subscribers, there are cases when you still have to or like can increase the prices for them, but most of the time, if you increase the prices and they have to provide specific consent that they agree to pay more, you would end up losing some of them. So it's better to increase the prices by introducing new product rather than just changing the prices for all of your customers. There are exceptions if you have like very, so you mentioned the customers who started paying but they don't use the application, 99% they won't be like increasing, they won't be willing to increase the price they pay into you. But if you have very strong product retention and most of your user base daily or like weekly actually use the product, and especially if the usage correlates with the amount you have to pay for, I don't know, OpenAI tokens or like servers or something like that, then you can justify it for them that, well, because you are using more of our product and you definitely enjoy it because the retention is high, you can increase the prices. But these cases are rather rare among like general subscription-based applications.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you mentioned about having an AI builder.
Mm-hmm.
Is this part of the paid subscription or is it part of the free subscription?
It is part of the free subscription.
And is there any limit for it? Like, you know how with these AI services where you have some tokens that you can only use per day or something, are there any limitations?
No, so you can create as many paywalls as you want. You would not be able to use AI for localization in the free mode, but you can create the paywall without having to pay for it. Yep.
Thanks for the talk. It was really interesting. I was curious to sort of understand when you were talking about your unified like UI library that you
Yeah.
created, that you could send JSON down the wire and render that. How often do you find yourself? Have you had any challenges with like having to introduce a new component or fix a bug with a component that already exists, having to push like a change to all your users?
Yes, so we had three major like changes over time, and every time we had to we had to introduce new SDK version for that. If we want so currently most of the components we just have to implement them on the front end in our dashboard, but because this is the structure of the data allows us to insert new components without having to change them, we don't have to change SDK for that. If you want, but let's say if we because we can like endlessly insert new components in the nested structure and it works. But if we want to use, let's say we want to use like the new logic on how the screens have to appear one after another. So for example, if we want to use branching, we recently started introducing that. So for example, if you answered that you are male on the screen, you will be shown screen A afterwards. If you answered that you are female, you will be shown the screen B. We didn't have support for that in the beginning. Yeah, so for that we had to push new SDK version, introduce these changes, and then in the app dashboard we tell our customers that to use this feature you have to use SDK 3.10 and higher. So yeah, that works, but it's not something that happens very often. So most of the times when we introduce new components, we don't have to push new SDK releases for that.
Is that when you said, that makes sense, and when you said about those nested components, is it that you've got a core number of sort of simple components that you can
Yeah. So we have like the simplest component is basically like a div alternative in the HTML. So it's a block that can be either a nested block or parent block, and then you can insert them. They have specific behavior on how they interact with each other, and then inside the block you can put the image, video, text, or like any other type of elements. But because this system is already kind of in the system, we don't have to do it over and over again. Yep. Yes.
You mentioned engagement and like retention.
Uh-huh.
Do you have? Are you able to connect sort of like your revenue data or anything like that to user behavior data through like perhaps another channel or another product like Mixpanel?
Yeah. So we have integrations with with Mixpanel, with Amplitude, and with Posthawk for the usage data. So normally we send events because we are focused on the revenue events. We send revenue events to Mixpanel, and they have this information. And we also send revenue data as customer properties in Mixpanel or other platforms. So yeah, this way, like we enrich their data, and you can see how the actual usage of your application, how it affects revenue. So yeah, you can do it this way. And we also allow exporting all the events as a raw data into S3 or Google Cloud Storage, or just to your server using webhooks. So if you have like very sophisticated internal analytical system, you can also use these raw events and then interpolate them in any way you want. Yep, thank you.
Do you see the use between B2C and B2B the same, or are paywalls that implemented very differently? Like, how do you see your users using this?
So most, even like majority of our user base are the B2C focused subscription applications. So I would not probably lie here. Most of the times B2B applications, they don't use Apple in-app subscriptions or like Google in-app subscriptions as a way to charge their customers, because the commission is either 30% if you make more than 1 million per year, or 15% if you make less than that. And so it is common to charge B2C customers this way, because for them to go to external website, attach the card, or like do something like that, it's pretty like it creates a lot of friction. But for the B2B customers, most of the time they expect that they have to pay for the service, like using the credit card directly. So to avoid these commissions, most of the B2B applications, even if they mostly operate on the mobile, they still tend to charge through the web payments rather than in-app subscriptions. Yeah.
So do your paywalls only work for subscriptions? Do they work for just like random, more like in-game purchases?
No, they work both for subscriptions and consumable or one-time products as in-game purchases, or like currency or AI tokens. So yeah, they would work for that. Adapty paywalls, they work mostly for in-app subscriptions, but maybe you know that this May, the United States forced Apple to allow accepting payments on the web in the United States. So we also have support for that. So if your customers are in the United States, you can choose charging them through Stripe or Pedal or other solutions. And this, there are some challenges there. The biggest one is that the conversion rate to the web paywall is smaller than conversion rate for the native in-app purchases. So even though you save some money on the commission because of the conversion drop, most of the times it's not really feasible. But recently, ChatGPT also already they already started charging customers from the United States on the web. So probably because ChatGPT is a huge application, this will normalize kind of taking the customer to the web payments. So we expect that probably over the next year, there will be more and more cases when applications start charging for the Stripe. But for now, still, in-app purchases are the most dominant way to do it. Yes?
So you were saying before about people should raise the prices to get more revenue.
Yeah.
I suppose it sounds like an obvious statement on one hand, but you must have some like useful insight into optimizing pricing.
Yeah.
So is there any way you can integrate that into your offering, or do you like publish any data anywhere?
Yeah. So in Adapty dashboard, so once you integrate our SDK and we understand the app category of your application and we get some numbers, we also do like benchmarking. So we show what's the average conversion in your app category, and it's not just like, let's say, health and fitness application. It's more narrow than that. So we can understand like whether your application is about like Calorie that tracks like calories from the food, or it's like more fitness application. So we then analyze like we then compare your data to what we have like in general in this app category, and we see, for example, if in specific countries conversion is much smaller, we would highlight that, and it's either because there are several options. You could miss localizations there, or you can have like very high prices. So I said, I said increase the prices, but in some markets, you get more revenue if you decrease the prices. In general, most of the revenue comes from the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Canada, such countries. So for them, most of the time increasing the prices would increase the revenue, and most of the applications, they get roughly 70 to 80% of the revenue from these like top 5, top 7 countries. But then and most of the time in the beginning, you should focus on these countries, because obviously the relative, like if you get 10% from them, it will be more in the absolute amount if you get 10% from the smaller countries. But once you're done with the initial optimization phase and you get all the conversions in the benchmarks or like even better than them, then you can go to markets with the different pricing strategies, and for some of them, like Turkey here, for example. So Turkey, surprisingly, is a pretty big market in terms of mobile subscription usage. But if you price subscription, let's say $10 per week, which is okay price for the United States, okay in terms of customers can pay that. I'm not sure it's like okay from the like ethical perspective, but yeah, they would pay. In Turkey, if you charge $10 per week, most of the customers, they might not have like that amount on the credit card, so you won't be able to charge them. So that's why, or they just see this price, decide that you are like crazy, deciding to charge that much, and they won't activate the subscription. But if you drop the price, as we said here, 3 times, there will be much more customers willing to pay, and even though the LTV will be probably smaller, like per paying subscriber, the overall amount of paying customers will be much more, and so you get higher revenue. So that's how it works. Yeah, and in Adapty, you can see that once you start using the product, once we start seeing your actual conversions.
Do you find that it's still the case that iOS users spend more money?
Yeah, definitely.
All categories as well?
It's yeah, I think I mean we actually have specific report for that. It's not on this. So once again, yeah, try checking it here. But also we have it's called subscription mobile subscription report 2025. It has a lot of data by app categories and also by platform, iOS and Android. I think well, probably, yeah, all the categories iOS is higher than Android. I know some specific applications that make more on Android than iOS, but it's pretty rare. So most of for example, in general, in Adapty, so we track over $2 billion per year right now of our customers' revenue, and more than 70% of that is coming from iOS. So it's definitely bigger. It's not like 10 times bigger, but still noticeably bigger. Yeah.
Have any of your developers or developers using your platform, have they tried personalizing pricing within the same jurisdiction? How does that go?
Probably not personalizing, but definitely A/B testing. And then for personalizing, they can do it through, as I mentioned here, just a moment. Yeah, so during onboarding, you can determine like which user. So, for example, you have different user categories in your application, and some of them they use application more extensively than the others, and so it makes sense to charge them more. So yeah, you can try to figure out which category this particular user will belong to based on the questions on the onboarding. And then once you have a complete profile after onboarding for this specific customer, you can show the paywall with a higher pricing tiers for them. It's not, I wouldn't say it's something that like happens very often, but it's definitely something that you can test. And I would expect that in some cases it should work. But the easiest solution is just to run A/B test across like your whole user base in the specific country, and then you see like if and it's not always you don't have to run 50-50. So if you have pretty big application, if you run like half split. If you choose the wrong hypothesis for the A/B test, you will actually lose some money because you could have charged them more. So if you have pretty big audience, you can do 80-20, 20 being the new like paywall or onboarding variation. And if it shows like promising results, and with Adapty, the good thing is you don't only get actual revenue, you also get predicted revenue up to 2 years. for the specific paywall variation. So this will sometimes, for example, if you sell annual subscriptions and weekly subscriptions, obviously annual subscriptions will get higher revenue in the beginning, but over time, in many applications, weekly subscription will drive more revenue because the customers are charged weekly. So with Adapty, you can see this difference. In some cases, you want your money back fast, and this way you just continue using annual subscriptions. But if you optimize for the 1 year LTV, weekly subscriptions could be a better choice.
Can I ask the last question, please?
Yeah.
Now you've been collecting all of this analytical data about trends and different kinds of customer behavior. What's been the most surprising thing you've learned about customer behavior? Whether that's, as you mentioned, in certain countries, a paywall will be perfectly acceptable, but in other countries it's much lower than that. Are there any kind of surprising observations that you've made in the time that you've been running the company that
Yeah.
you could share with us?
So for me personally, the most surprising is, how many of the customers, they activate subscription and then they completely forget about the application. So we have like the usage data, like actual usage data, and then subscription retention. And in many applications, they don't really correlate. The very best application, they have pretty big correlation between actual usage and subscription usage, subscription retention, but it's like top 5% of the application. The rest, the customers can use, let's say they use the application for 2 weeks, and then they stopped using it altogether, but still like 6 months later, they're still paying either like monthly or in some terrible cases weekly. So that's like that was really surprising to me because I mean, me personally, I really try to kind of optimize like which subscription I use. Another surprising thing is that probably localization. So I did not expect that localization has such a big like effect on the conversion, and it's not just about the onboarding localization. It's also about whether you localize the creatives that you run on Meta or TikTok. So it's kind of I mean, probably most of us, we think that most of the users, they speak English, or at least they can read English in English, but in reality, most of them do not. And it's like often like an overlook for the developers to localize for the other markets. Middle East is a big booming market right now, so if you localize it in Arabic, you will definitely get higher conversions. And it's, as I mentioned, with LLMs, with all the tools that we have, localizations, they used to be pretty challenging. Right now, it's a matter of 10, 30 minutes, export JSON or like any other format that you use, put them into ChatGPT, anything else, really easy. So yeah, that's another thing that was really surprising to me. Yeah.
Fascinating. I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you ever so much, Kirill.
Thank you.